done. Your lords and masters.
Hello, and welcome
Hi.
to... let me just have a look. I forgot what day it was.
What day is it? Because I always forget what day it is in December.
Day 17.
Mm.
Day 17 of the Genesis of Androzani Advent Calendar for 2020. Objectively the best year of all time, obviously.
Oh, yes, of course.
Nothing ever bad happened this year.
No, it's all been so good.
Oh, I just remembered that by the time this comes out, all the election results will be out for every country that's had an election.
Man, I cannot believe Joe Biden is president.
Wow, I'm so surprised.
Me too, man. I can't believe he got that many votes.
Yeah.
And how close it was.
Jesus. Oh dear.
Only here we would get the most in-depth predictions.
Yeah, we predicted. God. Anyway, we're here to do it.
And they say I'm always a prick for being right.
Jesus. Ugh.
Anyway.
Oh, if I ever became a prime minister, I would definitely go full Harold Saxon.
What this country leader needs right now is a doctor.
Well, I mean, yeah. This is happy. This is angry. You're insane. Anyway, we're mucking around here. This is a video that a lot of you have been asking for a long time. And finally, you're getting it. So, we are going to be doing a breakdown of all the Doctor Who title sequences, all the way up from the William Hartnell era, the very beginning, all the way through to the Jodie Whittaker-Chibnall era as it stands. I can't imagine they'll be changing the title sequence anytime soon. Probably not until there's another Doctor or another showrunner. So it's all the way up till the Whittaker-Chibnall era as it stands. So if you're watching this a few years down the track and it's outdated, I'm sorry.
Go watch the one we did years from now if you're watching this.
Yeah. Unless, of course, Chris Chibnall's the showrunner forever.
That would literally be my nightmare.
Or the other scenario is, what if that title sequence is the last one in New Who?
Because the show gets cancelled.
I mean, it would be a pretty good one to end on. Anyway, I'm spoiling my thoughts. I'm spoiling my thoughts.
Anyway.
Spoiling my thoughts.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. So yeah, this is going to be based off the one that's uploaded to the Doctor Who YouTube channel. It's not going to be like the one that I uploaded to my other channel that I have. That got millions of views.
How many views has that got?
The one that's blocked has like 1.4 million, I think.
Oh, is it now blocked?
There's another one that I have that has quite a bit as well, but the one that's blocked has 1.4 million, I'm pretty sure. Unless it's unblocked, I don't know. But it was the one that I uploaded in 2013, right before the 50th, and around the 50th, everyone was looking at it. And I remember I had people come up to me at school and say, hey, I've seen that video. And then I remember
I think I might have seen that video before I even met you.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I uploaded it in 2013.
Yeah.
And then also...
I mean, like, not like... I think it was, like, at least a year within. Because I do remember watching it.
Well, it ends with the Snowman title sequence.
Yeah.
And I also, when I met Adam in 2016, he also said, yeah, I've seen that video. Yes, I'm famous. Anyway. But yeah, we're going to be watching the one on the Doctor Who YouTube channel. And basically the way it's going to work is we're going to do an EDAR format, and we're going to, I would say the best way we're going to do it is we'll watch them one by one, and then if we want to like go back and go into them specifically, we can, like sort of scrub through if we need to. But basically, what I think we'll do is we'll watch it all the way through once, like the whole thing of not the whole video, but one title sequence at a time once, and then talk about it and go through it if we need to, break it down. Because I think there's a few other channels that have done the title sequence stuff and they give their thoughts, but I feel like we potentially could go above and beyond, considering that,
as we normally do anyway.
Yeah, but considering that we're both video editors, we may have some insight onto certain things. I know I certainly do, because I've been fascinated by these title sequences since I was about 10 years old. I used to, I remember in like 2008, I used to watch them on loop all the time. I was just like, I was obsessed with it. And also I was spoiled for what happens at the start of The Stolen Earth, because the person who uploaded it didn't upload like just the sequence, they uploaded like the bit before as well with the sting. And so when they did the Series 4 one, they uploaded the bit with all the planets. And with like Rose talking. So I was spoiled for that, and obviously I saw the names as well. But yeah, I forget. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I had almost all the Series 4 spoiled for me, because halfway through the year, my teacher at school got replaced by someone from England. He came from England, and England had the broadcast of Doctor Who like 3 months before us, and so he spoiled Turn Left for us. Like he'd already seen it, and he's like, "Oh, it's the one where the Doctor dies." And then we thought the Doctor actually died.
Yeah, true.
But yeah. Anyway, shall we get into it?
Yes, let's do this.
Alrighty.
Yeah, this one, I really like this one. It's just very like simple, but it's so sci-fi.
So yeah, that was the original, which for its time was very interesting. When you consider like the resources they had and the way that they came up with, if anyone has seen An Adventure in Space and Time, you'll know that the way that they did it was pointing a camera down its own lens, and it creates this weird like effect. And it's so creepy. You know? And I've always heard stories about people that grew up like as kids during the 60s and 70s about how they were scared of the music and the titles. You know, it's funny how
it is very chilling.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you took it like Doctor Who, known as like a hide behind your couch show.
Yeah, that's the most like big thing coming, especially from the classic era. Is very much hiding behind your couch.
Yeah, like they talk about like the Daleks and the Cybermen, but also the titles. Yeah. People were scared of the titles. Yeah, so I absolutely love this title sequence. I think for what it wants to do and what it's going for, I think it absolutely nails it.
Oh yeah, I think it's such a creative way to do it as well.
Yeah.
It's like, and how it turns out is completely what they were actually going for, and it completely sells the sort of like unknown sort of sci-fi creepiness of what the show is like starting to do. It's like the music is fantastic.
Oh yeah, So the fact that like so obviously Ron Grainer came up with like the tune, but he imagined it as this sort of like bombastic action tune with this like these notes in it, and it would sound a bit more like like sort of that sort of thing, the kind of thing you get on like 60s serials
Saturday
back then.
Cartoons.
Yeah, like that sort of thing.
That's what it sounds like.
Or like something like, Flash Gordon or whatever. But then you get Delia Derbyshire, who discovered synth and distortion, and she used the technology that the BBC had at the time in the radiophonic workshop to create this arrangement of it, and it's just magic. Like you couldn't like all the stars just aligned, I feel, for this theme, because it just doesn't. It's so like different to everything else in its time. I think like there's nothing else from that time period that's even like similar to how this sounds. So in a way, it really does stand out. The one other thing that's missing though that they were considering putting in was they were going to put the Doctor's face in this one, but then they looked at it and it looked very, very scary. So they chose not to, but eventually they did end up putting the face in.
Yeah, I think because in the way like how Hartnell looks, I think that would really scare a lot of people because in just like just a still image with this music and the way this sequence is done, it would actually be quite scary because I think like, you know, him being a lot older, I feel like, and the way he looks physically is like, it does have that kind of like vibe about it if it was going to be put a part of this sequence.
Yeah, but
I might have been going a little bit overboard, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, they went for a much more simplistic route, and the font for the logo is very simple, but there is something slightly off about it. Like there's that bit where it transitions and it's like it's in reverse, like part of it's in reverse, and it looks like Dr. Oho, and then it fades in.
Yeah.
And
like, it's not centered in the way it's sort of like curved a bit in terms of like it's rotated just a bit. It's not.
Yeah,
centered.
yeah. The perspective, like the center point is in the right bottom corner, and it's slightly rotated. You know.
Yeah, I think if this title sequence was like made like now, it would be, and I feel like that. For me, I think that's like it wouldn't work as well. I think in the way that it's done here, obviously it's to do with like the sort of like limitations that at the time they had. I think if they did do it with everything now, in this way,
because obviously
I think it's better.
Because obviously they did, like CGI didn't exist until the 80s. Really, I mean, I suppose technically there was some in the 70s, but it was very bare minimum. And so everything had to be done by hand. And so that's why you've got like it's all just like it's like when you get an overhead projector and you add layers onto it and you just shine light through it, and it's just layers of video compiled on top of each other, and I think it's really well done.
I completely agree. I think it's a fantastic title sequence,
and
I see a lot of people I see a couple people think it's not like great, but I think it is. I think it's.
I also think it also captures the vibe of the Hartnell era really well as well. Like the way this is like the music in this is slower paced than any other arrangement in the TV show. Like the next one, which we'll get to, is a double. It's like a double drum of this. It's twice. It's twice as paced. So, and I think whenever I hear this title sequence before I watch a Hartnell episode, it gets me in the right zone. Like it really, especially I would say where it's most effective is in like the pure historicals, because it just, I don't know, I can't quite place what it is, but it's this perfect blend of like steady, like simple, like delicately paced TV. That's not like it's not, it doesn't attack you. Like that's what I find with the Hartnell era. It's not a very aggressive show. It's very sort of gentle, you know. It's it's almost like you're reading a book at night. That's how I feel about it. It's probably intended like the way it was written. It's meant to be a bit like that, like a storybook on TV. But yeah, I definitely feel like this title sequence perfectly gets me in the right mood for the Hartnell era. And also, this sequence did bleed over into the Troughton era for a little bit, for his first few stories. But I will say it is a bit weird seeing, like, when I watch, like, Power of the Daleks or the Moon Base, like, seeing this title sequence over it, it's a bit like, there's something off about it. It doesn't feel right.
Well, it was part with because I haven't obviously seen them, is it part of the same season?
Yeah, season 4.
And does it change? Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't until the Macra Terror that they changed the sequence.
Was in the same season?
Yeah,
or was
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
season
yeah.
5?
No, it's right. It's near the end of season 4. There's like the last three
Okay.
the last 3 stories of season 4 have the new one. Except I will say though the original theme still plays in the Macroterra and into the first episode of the Faceless Ones. It's not until episode 2 of the Faceless Ones where you get the new theme as well as the sequence, and then you get it for the rest of that.
That is a bit weird.
You get the rest of that, and then you also get it for Evil of the Daleks as well. But yeah,
I think if I'd be fine with it if it was the same title sequence for all of season 4. I think if they are going to, I think that would be better because it would fit more in the line of like it's still the same season. It's still the same, but it's like slowly transitioning to like how the Troughton era sort of pans out.
Yeah, actually,
and I think then changing it to season 5 would be better.
and having the sequence that we're about to watch start at Tomb of the Cybermen would actually make sense.
Yeah, so I think I think that would be better for it in terms of just like
because
thing, but
in a lot of ways, Tomb of the Cybermen is actually kind of a jumping on point. It's like the first scene is very like introductory. It's like the Doctor and Jamie introducing Victoria to the TARDIS, you know, and if it came with a new sequence and a new theme as well, it would just add on top of it. But yeah, anyway, I absolute thumbs up for this. I think it's brilliant. I have no criticisms considering what was available at the time. I think they nailed it.
Oh, for what they have at the time is outstanding.
Yeah, and the other thing I will say is that when I was a kid, I used to think they filmed a lava lamp. That's what I thought it was a lava lamp that they were filming. Even though it's not. But it just looked like a lava lamp to me. That's why.
That would be cool, though.
Yeah. So yeah. Anything you must say before we move on to the second one?
I just think I think for a first one, and then to see where it's sort of like how it's been changed over the years, this is still like great for what it is. It's like it's fantastic and it completely fits with the vibe.
Oh yeah, I still think it's one of the best ones. I still think
I actually would agree. I think it is. I think it's one of the best ones.
Yeah, and the fact that every other one after this has all been based on it is a true testament to the show. You know, maintaining its tradition in a way.
Yeah, I think more so than others, but like for this being like sort of like this absolutely like fits in with the core of the show. Even like now,
like if for some reason some really silly showrunner decided that the show was going to have a different sequence and a different theme, like not even because obviously there's different arrangements, but if the show had a completely different theme song, I guarantee there would be people that would stop watching because they're like, no, it's not Doctor Who anymore. You have to have this theme song.
I would have a big issue with it.
Yeah, like it would be a
because it would absolutely be them trying to move away from what the show has always been. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no at this point, over 55 years, there's no point changing it now.
Absolutely, and it's and why would you change it? It's brilliant.
Exactly.
It's
if
iconic.
someone did
like,
come in and change
like,
it,
like you sing.
Clearly trying to move
like
away
even
from
people
it.
that haven't seen the show, like you sing this theme in public and people will recognize it. They'll be like, "Oh, that."
Everyone knows this.
Yeah.
Like people like they know about the Daleks and the Cybermen and
the TARDIS.
You know, especially modern Doctors and TARDIS and all that. They also know this. It's such a part of like sort of the culture of TV.
Yeah.
Like
the amount of
Doctor Who is probably the most popular TV show I think of all time.
Maybe it's hard to say. I think
it's definitely up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are. I think it might be the most popular in the Commonwealth. That's for certain. Yeah. Except for maybe, I hate to say it, but Coronation Street's pretty popular. Ugh. And that one has a pretty good theme tune, though, I have to say.
I can't stand any of those. I can't stand Coronation Street's Emmerdale or EastEnders.
Well, like
I can't stand
actual
them.
Soap opera.
Yes, I can't stand them.
Yeah, like
it's so fucking boring.
Yeah, like non-Russell T Davies soap opera is the absolute worst.
It's such a fucking snooze fest.
Yeah, and it's just so shit. Oh, and also
it's great for when you're starting up as an actor.
We have one in New Zealand called Shortland Street. I may have told you about that. Did I show you the bloody cliffhanger?
No.
Oh my god! Oh, everyone has to see that.
In Australia, there's one called A Home and Away.
Yeah.
That might like.
There's also Neighbours as well in Australia.
My auntie used to watch that when she was in the country.
Home and away.
Yeah, I remember that.
I see ads for it on TV because they play it here as well, and it's just it's such trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Shortland Street's a bloody meme though. It's so terrible. I think Timmy Morrison may have been on Shortland Street at some point. I can't remember. I could be wrong about that. I'm just a simple mate trying to make my way through the hospital. Anyway, shall we move on? Now, I'm just going to say it right now. That is my favorite classic title sequence.
I think that, yeah, honestly, that's what I remember when I watched Enemy of the World for the first time. When I watched it for my channel, I loved this title sequence because I think it is like we said with like the Hartnell one. This also fits completely with Patrick Troughton.
It has such a perfect balance.
This kind of reminds me of like the transition from the Series 1 title sequence music to like the Series 4 title music in that sort of way. I get that kind of vibe. It's more
what I love
bombastic.
What I love about it is it has such a perfect blend of the creepy factor from the original, but then it adds a kick to it. It's
definitely got more excitement to it. It's like it's still like sci-fi, it's still creepy, but it's more like exciting.
Yeah, and also that's
definitely what they were going for.
There's a reason why this version of the theme is the longest running in the show. It went all the way from season 4 to season 17 with a slight changes here and there, but this kind of it was slight edits to how it went. Like it was a bit shorter later on, which we'll get to see. But the arrangement itself, this lasted from season 4 to season 17. Like it is the iconic theme. And oh my god, and the sequence as well, the fact that they upped the ante and they used the same effects, but they made it look like 3-dimensional, and it actually look, this is the first one that actually looks like a vortex, you know?
Oh yeah.
And it has these layers and dimensions to it, and obviously they added the face of Patrick Troughton in as well, which I just love it. I love how they used the same effect on the text from the last one on his face, where they have like the reversing and then transitioning in. And what I like about it is it's like when you see him at first, it looks scary like you'd think it would, but then as soon as it becomes clear, you see his smiling face and you just feel comfortable. And that picture of him is just so perfect for it, because he's just such a friendly doctor, you know? And it just, I don't know, I feel like that picture of Patrick Troughton, it fixes the problem of it looking scary, you know? It kind of works better than what it would have if it was Hartnell, because I don't think it's, I mean, I'm sure there were kids that were scared of it, but I feel like his face works for this really well. And the other thing I really like is that they, in this version of the sequence, they had the episode title like appear at the end of it, rather than it appearing over the episode like it did before. But yeah, I really like this one. And if I were to have one nitpick, Times New Roman is it's definitely a downgrade from the previous logo, but I don't dislike it necessarily. I just think it's a bit.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's more simple.
Yeah, I think than
the last one.
I feel like it would look really out of place now, like really out of place. But I think because it's the '60s, Times New Roman kind of fits. Like it kind of feels right.
I think it fits, but I prefer the previous.
Yeah, the previous one's better, and the one after it's definitely better.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the only small little nitpick I have, is that Times New Roman isn't the best logo. But apart from that, it's fucking brilliant. I love it.
I think all the way like all the textures look in as it goes past, sort of pace it goes past, I think it's completely perfect with the new sort of music that goes along with
Yeah.
it. And I think the way that both Troughton's face and the logo sort of fade, I think it's brilliant. It's like it's so smooth.
Yeah, and also because there are a lot, not all of them, but this title sequence goes really well with some of Troughton's stories when you consider that his TARDIS teams are a lot more energetic than the previous ones. Like, especially...
That's how I felt when watching Enemy of the World. I think that's it's so well suited for that.
Like, Troughton surrounds himself with young people. Ben and Polly, Jamie, Victoria, and Zoe. And it's reflected in a lot of his episodes. Like, this sequence coming in front of stories like The Invasion and The Mind Robber and The War Games and The Enemy of the World, it just feels so right. And the way the music is paced, it just blends perfectly into the episodes you're about to watch. So it's just, I love it. The 60s title sequences are just fucking brilliant. Like, I can't fault them. Really.
Yeah. This one's really good. I think it's great.
Absolutely. So, are we ready to move on to the 70s?
This sort of reminds me of like a brain in the way it all looks. Oh god.
Oh, I love that logo.
Oh yeah. The transition to it is bloody brilliant. Actually.
Yeah. So they went into color, and Jesus Christ, so much color.
Yeah, they certainly went into color.
Yeah, but one thing I will say now that I've clicked on it, that is my favorite Doctor Who logo. I love it.
I think that's great. I'm surprised that was made in the 70s.
Oh yeah,
because they reuse it for the movie
and the Classic Who releases.
Yeah, that was made in the 70s.
Yeah, but if you just look at like it you on first glance you might think it's like a simple block text, but then you look at like the D with like the little disconnect, and then you look at the H especially with the curved middle, and then you see like how like all the different like O's are slightly different shaped, and like the W slightly curves, and it's like it's just slightly off, and it's perfect. It's so magnetic, and the texturing on it as well.
It's a great logo.
Yeah,
I think it's such a good logo for like, I think like for thumbnails, for example. It's just so appealing because it's kind of like the universal Doctor Who logo.
Oh yeah, it's so eye-catching.
I think that logo can work in any era of the show, I think.
Oh yeah, it's timeless. Yeah, it's definitely the best logo.
The only one I'd say it probably doesn't work as well would probably be the RTD one.
What if this logo's in that era?
Yeah, that's the only one I think wouldn't work as well as others. Yeah,
it probably wouldn't fit as much, but definitely the Moffat era, because the Moffat era logo has a very similar vibe to this. It's just slightly sleeker. But yeah, this logo is, oh man, it's excellent.
Yeah, imagine this one in the Capaldi one. I actually think this would be brilliant for the Capaldi one.
But there's more than that to this. Like, all the transitions are so, like, I'm just going to play it again. Oh yeah, I'm going to pause here. Adam's pointed out to me before when we watched Colony in Space that this looks like Darth Vader's helmet on the outside.
It does. I think I've always thought that.
Yeah.
Whenever I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I like the way, like, the cut, how it like moves, like the sort of like, I guess it's like animation kind of what it is like. That's the only way I could sort of describe it. But the way it sort of like flows, all the colours when it's transitioning, but it's so smooth.
Well, yeah, it's the same effect they use for the Hartnell and Troughton ones, but it's just in colour.
Yeah.
And it's like the same like corridor, which kind of looks like a vortex.
Yeah, it's got so many colours,
but then
I feel it's like,
I just love the way that like
so well suited.
It explodes like out his face. Like all the transitions are so creative. Now one thing I will say, as a kid, I used to think that was a puppet of John Pertwee.
It looks like a wax model for sure.
Yeah. But it must just be the lighting on it or something.
Yeah, like the eyes are like very bright. It reminds me of like thumbnails of people like brightening their eyes, so it makes it more colourful, more like to make it more stand out, and that's what I get from this.
Yeah. But I know it's a real photo because there's other photos of him that they took as well. There was one where he had his arms out and it looks so creepy. Yeah, on the Spearhead from Space Blu-ray, there's an entire I think it's 20-minute long of all the drafts they did for this sequence. It's really cool. I love this. I love that when his face goes green in the back. That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, it transitioned from his face to the logo.
Yeah. So as you can hear, at the end of it, they, instead of having the theme go into the middle 8, they had it loop in a sort of it goes in a loop, if you've noticed. And basically I suppose that was done to just sort of round it off, and so it's sort of slick in a slick way.
Yeah, I think when it's in the previous one, when it goes to the middle 8, it's kind of weird because it's the end of the sequence. With this, I think it works a lot better because it's obviously as the end of the sequence, but it's the way it loops in this. I think it's so well suited for it. I think, and especially with the sort of visuals, I think I think it's actually a very good way to end the sequence. Yeah.
So yeah, brilliant sequence. The only criticism I have is not of this necessarily, because I think the sequence they have for season 7, here, is brilliant. But in season 8, they did an alternate version of this where it's the colors are slightly different, and it just doesn't look as good, and the theme isn't quite as... It doesn't have the thumping at the start, so it doesn't quite kick in as well. If you'll notice, actually, at the very start of this one, it has this build-up to it that no other sequence has. I'll just take it back slightly.
Yeah, I noticed that when it happened.
You notice that? Yeah. So I'm pretty sure after season 7 they removed that, and they just had the regular version.
I don't know. I do kind of like that. The sort of way it builds up.
Yeah. The other things to mention is that in Ambassadors of Death they introduced the Doctor Who sting, and the first time they used it is what they'd do is they'd have this sequence, and then they'd have a pre-title sequence take place after it, and then it would cut back to the red thing, and it would go "Eow!" and it would show the Ambassadors of Death.
It's the first cold open.
Yeah, but then after that, then they started using it as cliffhangers as well, and it's just, oh man, and especially it's a very appropriate story to do it, because Ambassadors of Death has a lot of great cliffhangers. There's one in particular where they're cutting open this rocket ship thing that came from space, and the Doctor's trying to figure out what the hell's inside it, and then he's just right, cut it open, and it goes "Eow." Yeah.
And then you get the opposite of that with Connolly in Space, where you get 2 cliffhangers that are the exact same.
That was fucking hilarious. Oh dear. The other thing is that in Australia and New Zealand, for Carnival of Monsters and Frontier in Space, they played a version of the sequence which has a different theme. It's called the Delaware theme. You might be aware of it, and it sounds a lot different. It sounds almost like a mouse. It's the one that goes, you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I do.
It's very weird. But yeah, I think this is brilliant. Great title sequence.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I like the sort of way the colours transition from one and another. I think the sort of appearance of the transition of the logo, I think, is actually probably my favourite one of the 3 so far.
Yeah, I also think
I think the logo is great.
I think on paper, this one, you would think this one would be the messiest one, but it just isn't. It just works.
No, I think because it's the way they sort of do the execution of it, because it could have absolutely been so overbearing with all the colours and stuff, but in the way they sort of transition with each other and the sort of way it looks in terms of all the animation kind of stuff they did with this one, it looks bloody brilliant. I think the only problem I have with it is that the face of God, I forgot.
Pertwee.
What's his name again? Fuck.
John Pertwee.
Pertwee, yes. John Pertwee.
Adam will crucify you for that.
The face. I just think the face could have looked a little bit less like a wax model. Mm-hmm. I think that's my only problem, because it is a little bit.
That is something they
off-putting, but
that is something they do fix in the next one. To be fair.
Yeah, I think I think it's it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the.
But having said that, I can forgive that
Yeah.
considering how brilliant the transitions are between them. Like,
Oh, yeah.
oh my god, I love the transition into it. How like the yellow and the pink explode out of his face, but then especially when it goes green and then you get the logo over it, it's just it's perfect. And with the technology at the time, that is a grueling process to make that.
Oh, I imagine.
Like you're having to do everything with like a projector, and then adding layers onto it. It's just it's work of art. Yeah, so I got nothing more to add onto that. Should we move on to the next one? Now, this is a really interesting one because this is a very divisive one, I find.
Yeah, I think the idea of it is really, really cool, and I think some of it is like really, really good. I just think the execution in some parts isn't quite there.
Yeah, so if you like take a still image of it, it looks amazing. Like look at this here.
Yeah, but here's the thing: when you're looking at it in motion, it completely looks like a PNG just warped around.
Absolutely,
that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I think you're right in the fact that like
I think the opening here, though, the opening with the little like
the stars.
I think that's great.
This is I think that's
this
is almost like a precursor to the '80s one at the very start, in a way. So this is a tough one for me. I'm kind of conflicted because I think I can see the argument both ways for this. Like I know that
yeah,
I've seen some people say it's one of the weakest. I think Eirich said it's one of their least favorites. I think they said it might be their least favorite of Classicus outside of McCoy. And then Council of Geeks said this is his favorite sequence of the whole show.
I think because there is like some really good parts to it, but then there's some like quite bad parts.
Yeah, so
to it.
I think I think the
people I will focus on one or the other.
I think the overall issue is that there's just too much going on. Like it's a really busy title sequence.
I think for me, it just seems like it's not finished yet.
Yeah, there's one part, in fact, where you can see the black bit in the corner. It just looks a bit
exactly.
weird.
That's really off-putting because in a title sequence, when you see that, it can sort of like distract you. I think my favorite part about it though is how the logo fits in with
the diamond logo.
So I guess corridor. I think that's the best part about it.
Yeah, so so the thing is the diamond logo kind of has the reverse of the previous one because the previous logo is great because it's timeless. Like it's such a brilliant design that's timeless,
Yes.
right? But with the diamond logo, what's great about it is it's so 70s. Like it's extremely 70s. Like when you look at it, it's like that is 70s Doctor Who right there. So when you see the diamond logo, you get the right vibe for what you're watching, I think.
Yeah.
And also, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the diamond logo is the longest running one as well because it went all the way from season 11 to season 17.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Apart from me, I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's a bitch to get into thumbnails.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
So annoying.
But I'm just gonna go through it again because I got to break down all the different parts because there's so much going on here.
Yeah.
So this part is great, and I really like the design of it, but the motion is just a little bit weird.
Yeah, it just really reminds me of like a PNG image, but just like wrapped in like a paper, like tube.
Like it definitely has a 3-dimensional factor to it, which is good. But and then this is where here. This is one of my favorite parts. This part here is really good. Like this transition to John Pertwee, I really like.
Yeah.
But then what happens here is. Not only is it obviously it's rough around the edges, but the weirdest thing is rather than it just being like his profile, it's his whole body.
Yeah.
And it just like flies backwards. It's really strange.
Yeah.
And
then obviously like the idea of it being like cut around the vortex is a cool idea, but like we said, the way it just sort of like lingers on in the bottom corners is really distracting.
Yeah, and then you get this bit where it like transitions twice, and I don't know why it does that. Like it,
Yeah, that's so weird.
it's just a bit too busy. I do kind of like how it goes a bit, almost like ice or rocky around here at this point.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And then obviously you go through the silhouette into the triangle vortex, and then you get the logo. Before that, you did see the little black thing in the corner that was a bit distracting.
Yeah.
And then from there, it has obviously the credits. And, you know, I think that this part's fine. I like the design of the triangle vortex. That was I really like that. Though, to be fair, though, the text does look a bit weird over that bright light, which is something they actually fixed in the next one. But yeah, I think the ideas of it are great. It's just the execution's a bit rough.
Yeah, it's like I said, it feels like a sequence that is not finished yet.
And it only lasted for one season. It was only for season 11. Obviously, because Tom Baker then came in and they had to make a new one, which we'll get to after. But yeah, it's also very ambitious because this is the first like actual 3-dimensional title sequence that's not, you know, the camera down the lens. Like they actually really played with the effects here.
Yeah. I think you can sort of like tell with this one.
Yeah, and again, you got to put in perspective. 1973, you know, 1973. It's with what resources are available. There's not a lot of options. But yeah, I do think I still think it stands. I still think it's good, but there are some issues with it that need ironing out.
I would say it's out of the 4 right now. It's probably my least.
Oh,
favorite.
I definitely agree with that. For sure,
Yeah.
but obviously that's no insult because the first 3 are near perfect. Yeah, but I would agree it's the weakest so far, but it's still really good. It's just it's a bit of a mess, I think. Like there's small moments in it that I love, like especially the bit where it transitions to Pertwee is brilliant. But yeah, there's something off about this one.
Yeah, it could be a lot better.
Well, I think it can, because spoilers, I think it does get better with because the next version is a more refined version of this sequence, I think. But yeah, do you want to say anything more on this one?
No, I think we said everything we can on it.
All right, let's move on to the longest running sequence in the show with Tom Baker. So much better.
That is so
much better. That one is brilliant.
That's gorgeous.
I love that one from start to finish.
Yeah, that's so much better.
Yeah, like just everything, starting with like the horizontal lines that are 3-dimensional. That's great. And then it like the way it goes up into the TARDIS as well. This is the first one with the TARDIS in the sequence. Yeah. That's great. And then obviously you get the vortex as well. And this vortex looks even better than the last one. It actually looks kind of more realistic. And then my favorite part is this bit here.
Yeah.
Brilliant transition, and that photo of Tom Baker is perfect. Like, it just encapsulates the sort of weird enigma of the Fourth Doctor. And obviously you got the scarf as well. It's just, it's so iconic. I mean, there's a reason why this sequence played in the bloody Family Guy film when they went into hyperspace in the Star Wars Family Guy thing. And then obviously you get the diamond logo again. Everything's so much cleaner. And you get obviously they darkened it so that the title fits across it. Yeah, I think this one is one of the best in the show.
Oh yeah, I'd say it's 1,000 times better than the previous one.
Yeah, I think for Classic Who, I'd probably have this one just behind the Troughton one. Probably on par with the first one, maybe even better. Considering that how much more this one does, I might even say it's better than the first one, but I'm not 100% sure on that. because they're quite different.
I think it takes everything that was really poorly done in the previous one and then improved upon it. Even in the good parts, it improved on it.
I would say, obviously, because I've had said that the Trout one's my favorite Classico, but this one is the most impressive so far in terms of what it achieves. Yeah.
I'd agree.
Yeah, I think this one is just, it's so good.
Yeah, I agree. I think everything about it is like so alien, and it's so well transitioned. Like, it doesn't feel like it's rough around the edges. It's so slick in how it looks and sort of like the sort of pace of it as well.
Absolutely. And like when you see that picture of Tom Baker, I'm going to try and scroll back to it. When you see that picture of him, you're like, that guy is an alien. You can just see it. You can see it in his face. He's not from this world.
Nah. Yeah, it's really that. Yeah,
like just,
pretty
I mean, just looking at the picture, he's just such a perfect casting choice for the Doctor.
Oh yeah.
Just because he in real life has so many idiosyncrasies that you're just like, this guy is an alien for real. He's an actual alien. Yeah. But
and the transition from this image to the next part is 1,000 times better than the last one. It's so much better.
Yeah, because rather than being like the John Pertwee's like body bursting, it's like an outline, and then you get that bit, and it doesn't muck around. Like every bit of the sequence is all perfectly transitioned. I think
it doesn't stick. It doesn't like lag behind or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not surprised this was the longest running one. Like it was almost all of the Tom era until his final season was this. So yeah, brilliant sequence, absolutely brilliant. And I don't really have more to say, to be honest.
No, I just think everything about this is great, and the stuff that it improved upon from the previous one is great as well.
Yeah.
It's what they were sort of going for with the first one, but they sort of fine-tuned it and just sort of reflected on the stuff that just didn't work.
Yeah.
And then they made it better.
Yeah, I'm a bit afraid to do this, but I want to say, like, leave a comment on this video, and the reason why is that I've never met anyone that doesn't like this sequence, but I want to see if there is actually anyone out there that doesn't like this one, because I've yet to meet them. This one seems to be pretty universally acclaimed, probably because it was on for the longest time. It's one everyone remembers. But yeah,
But I think we've just proved like the idea of this kind of title sequence is amazing, but it's just with the Pertwee one, it's just so not well executed. And this is the idea that they had, and they perfectly executed it, and that's why it stayed on for so long, because it completely fits with the vibe of the Tom Baker era.
Absolutely. All right. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because now we're going to go to the 80s.
Yeah. This is where everything sort of changes.
Yeah, because this is the first time that the theme is not arranged by Delia Derbyshire, and the sequence is very different. So it'll be interesting to see. So we'll go on to Tom Baker's season 18 title sequence. Okay, I've got so much to say about this one. There's a lot. Okay, so this for me has a similar thing to the second Pertwee's one, in the sense that because it's a new one, there's a few rough edges with a few of the things they're trying to do. I wouldn't say they're as botchy as the Pertwee one, but there are a few moments. I would say the main one being Tom's face. Like, the picture just looks like it was taken randomly. That's my main issue with it. And I think it doesn't look as stylish as what we get next or even after. This is definitely a little bit more bland. Like the logo is just white. It's a white logo. There's no depth to it, as opposed to what it becomes after. However, that's all in the detail. If we go based on just it and its concept, and it's sort of like what it is, not knowing what comes after, just looking at it as a brand new sequence. I think the radical, bold move to change it was good, because I know that a lot of people would see this and be like, that doesn't feel like Doctor Who to me, but you kind of have to do that with this kind of show. You do, at some point, you do have to give the show a new identity when you're going to change the show. And when you look at season 17 and season 18, they feel very different in tone. Season 17 is a very, very silly season. It's very comedic, very slapstick. The monsters are all paper mache, and it's, you know, it's a lot of it's schlock. City of Death's brilliant, but the rest of it is very schlocky, like Creature from the Pit and Nightmare of Eden and all that. Like, they're very pulpy stories. They're very fun to watch. Obviously, Douglas Adams was on script editor, but they definitely are very pulpy in a way. Season 18 is almost the complete reverse of this, because it almost eliminates a lot of the comedy elements, and season 18 is very sci-fi, very mystery, very alien, a lot of like almost real-to-life science. It's the kind of thing of like, if you were to take a sci-fi show and treat it like dead serious, it's kind of what season 18's like, but it has a lot more of like 80s like flair to it, in the sense of like the production is way higher, the like the direction is really ambitious, and everything has just got like this big kick to it. So with this sequence, I think the way I would say it is, I think this really does fit the 80s, but what I will say is I don't think it fits Tom Baker at all. So it's there's definitely a clash there. But my biggest compliment to the sequence is the theme, because I love the Howl theme. It's like the diamond logo for the 70s. This theme just oozes 80s. So when I hear this theme, I know exactly the kind of story I'm going to be getting into with the 80s. I really do think it suits. It's got that. It's more of like a 80s rock track, but it still has that like electronic sci-fi feel to it. It still has the same sort of heart that the Derbyshire theme had. It is very different, obviously, and I'm sure when people first saw it, they're like, "What the fuck is that?" But yeah, I like it, and I just think that this version of the sequence for me is a bit rough with the Tom Baker bit, because of the picture, and also the tone of it doesn't really fit his Doctor. But then again, as a whole, season 18 doesn't really fit his Doctor anyway, and it's very much a season about transitioning and moving on. So in a way, I suppose it kind of fits. But yeah, I do like the sequence. I just think it needed a bit of fine-tuning, which I do think we get in the next version of it. But yeah, that's my ramble. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with pretty much all of that. I think its bass, it's pretty good. I think the music is very good, and I think the problems with it is that it's not quite fine-tuned, and that the face of Tom just is very off, and it doesn't really fit with the vibe of the sequence itself. And I think that, and I agree that the logo it is quite bland. Like, you could, it's sort of like it feels like the template for what the actual.
It's a bit like how in series 1 and 2 they used that like bronze plate logo before they added the fire to it. You know what I mean?
That's what it's kind of like.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just
overall, I think it's a decent one.
Yeah, I think it. What my favorite thing about it is, because obviously it's a star field. I like the way like the stars all collect and like they group up and make the like the face and the logo. That's one thing I do really like about it. But yeah, I would say I still like this one. I would say I think I like this one a little bit more than the second Pertwee one, actually.
I say this one is better.
Yeah, I say this one's better than that. But yeah, it's because it's hard to compare at this point, because all of the Derbyshire ones are so legendary that it's kind of hard to make comparisons. But I don't get me wrong, I still do love this one. I think for me, with the 80s, what I'm more fond of is the closing. I think the closing in the 80s is brilliant. I love the sting. I love the way it reverses and everything. That's brilliant. The opening's still good, but I definitely am more fond of the closing with the 80s. Like, you know, when you just like think back to when you're watching Earthshock and you had like the Cybermen walking in that corridor, and then it just goes wow, you know. It's it's a great closing theme. And also, yeah, the closing theme obviously gives you the middle 8 as well, which I think is really well handled in the arrangement by Peter Howell. But yeah, we're just mainly talking about the opening, and I think it's good. I think it is good.
Yeah.
I definitely am. I know some people, the people that aren't fond of it are people that don't really like the sort of garish 80s thing. But I do like that. I do like the 80s vibe, and I think it really fits. So I do like this one. But I think the next one improves a lot on this for reasons. Anyway, you want to say anything else?
No, I think I've said pretty much all I can say.
All right, let's move on to the Peter Davison title sequence.
This is the one I've seen the most out of Classic Who.
That's a way better picture.
Oh, yeah.
And see, the logo is way better. It's like nice and blue. So it's interesting, actually. My thoughts on this title sequence is almost my thoughts on the Fifth Doctor. It's like just really solid. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing great about it. Just really consistent.
I think it fine-tunes all the little issues from the last one.
Yeah. I know.
It's a lot more smooth.
I know some people don't like the video flip effect when his face appears. I've heard them say.
I think it's
I
fine.
think it fits what the sequence is going for, so I don't really mind it. But yeah, I think the face is way better. The picture is in like good quality, and like he's actually like
it fits more with the actual sequence that's around him. With the Tom one, it looks very like saturated.
It looks like they almost like just like, hey Tom, can you look here? And he's like, what? And then they took a picture. Whereas with him, it actually looks like with Peter Davison, it actually looks like he took an actual studio
it's
photo.
perfectly like placed within the sequence.
Yeah, and I also think that facial expression works for him too. It's like there's a little bit of a smile, but it's not overbearing. It's just a little subtle like look to it. But yeah, I think this one's a lot cleaner than the Tom one. I also think the way the stars are arranged is better too. Like, see that there? Like, the way it's more sort of wide rather than vertical.
Yeah.
I think that works a lot better. And also, I think this theme fits Peter Davison way more than Tom Baker.
Yeah, I agree. Having seen, like, I think it's now 3 Davison stories. It fits way more with his Doctor.
Yeah, and I think this effect, like with the logo, works better because of the blue color rather than the white. Like you can actually kind of see the depth of it rather than it just being, like a weird like flip. Like there's actual like color depth to it, like with the brightness, which works way better than if it was just white. Yeah, so I think this one's really solid. Definitely better than the last one. But I don't quite like it as much as the first 3 or the Tom first one. But, yeah. It's definitely, I think when people talk about, like, the 80s sequences, this is definitely the one people remember the most.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, so I would say this is a thumbs up.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. It's a very solid one.
Yeah. All right. Shall we move on to Colin?
Yeah.
Okay. This will be interesting. Okay. I do like that logo.
I like it. I think my favorite part about this one is how the logo transitions in.
But but it's also the logo transition, but also the design of it. Like it's got way more depth to it. It looks brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that's probably my favorite of the '80s logos, actually. This version of it.
I really like that logo.
Okay, so this is an interesting one.
I think from the first second, it's too much.
It's very loud
because they play the theme like I feel like it sounds like they play the theme opening like 3 times, and overlapping.
Let's hear it again. Yeah, it's like reverbed.
It's a bit too much.
It's very heavy-handed, this one, and not only that, but also this one is like the Davison one, but on crack, because you get like
it really is.
You get like this effect as well.
Yeah.
I think, oh god, I have such complex feelings on this, because it's kind of, I would say this is like a sort of almost a guilty pleasure in a way, because I do think it really works for what it wants to be. It's just what it wants to be is so aggressive.
It's very heavy-handed. It's trying too hard to like get the vibe of it being all colourful and like good vibes and all that kind of stuff. It's just too much.
It's very garish. It's almost like this is almost like
needs to be toned down.
This is almost like what you would think the first Pertwee sequence would end up being if it was a mess, you know? But the one thing that I do think is very strange about this one is you'll see. So, hang on, let's go a bit forward. So, okay. Is this not completely out of character for the Sixth Doctor?
Yeah. From seeing like just one story, it's kind of like out of character.
Yeah, I mean, Mark of the Rani is one of his more cheerful things of season 22.
Yeah,
I would say this fits more season 23 and Big Finish, Colin, but even then it's still a little bit too cheerful. He's still got that biting edge to it. I feel like if Colin had a similar expression to what Tom Baker did in his first sequence, that would have fit way better. Or even like Pertwee's second one, because I just don't know. The smile doesn't do it for me. It doesn't feel right for Colin Baker at all. Like it's weird to think that this first debuted in the Twin Dilemma, so it's like you get this smiley title sequence and then you see him choke out Perry, and it's weird. It's a weird tonal whiplash. And then also you look at all those lights around the side.
It's too much.
It's a bit like his costume, actually. It's so garish.
Yeah. Oh, that's what they're going for. I think the whole vibe of the Colin era is very much trying to be all colourful and like hyper. That's definitely what it's trying to go for, but it's way too much.
Yeah. I also think this version of the theme doesn't fit Colin as well. This version fits Davison more. I think the next theme he has fits him a lot better. Which we'll get onto, but yeah, the theme definitely feels like it's a carryover. It's very much a hand-me-down. So I don't hate the sequence, but it definitely is too much. Like it's really it's a lot. Yeah, it's interesting for sure. But my biggest positive to say about it is the logo. The logo is great.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, so. Shall we move on to the season 23 version of this one?
Yes. Okay.
So it's almost exactly the same. There's a little bit more saturation on the color, so it does look a bit cleaner. I think that the resolution of it, like the resolution of the export of it, is way more high res. So the quality is better. It's design wise, it's exactly the same though. Visually, it's the exact same, but the biggest difference is the theme. And I think the Dominic Glynn version of the theme suits Colin Baker a lot more than the Peter Howell one.
It does.
Rather than being all upbeat and like a rock album, it's more like mysterious. And I think this also, with this sequence, the way it transitions, it fits the vibe it's going for more. Yeah, and I also think, and also because if you remember in the previous one, they amplified the Hell theme to be loud, whereas this one, it's not as in your face with the theme, so at least your ears don't get destroyed.
Yeah.
What do you think of this one, the theme?
I think the theme it's more suited for Colin, and I think it's quite different from all the other ones.
Yeah.
As well, it tries to be quite different, and in some ways it works. I just don't think it's just not for me, I guess. I think the ending is like the most unique one out of all of the sequences the show's ever had.
Oh yeah, the bit where it goes on, like it's almost got its own middle eight that's different from the actual one.
Yeah, it's completely different. It hasn't, as far as I'm aware, it's never been used again since this.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely struck me when I first saw this one. I was like, oh, that's a bit different.
Yeah, I'd say overall that this sequence is like it's better and more suited for Colin than the last one, but I'm still not a fan of it. The only thing I can say like I think is great is the logo transition. I think that's actually
brilliant. The way they have the sound around it. I'll play it again.
Yeah, and the sort of way it's sort of like inverted, and then it like moves into outside of itself. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think everything after Colin's face is actually really good in this one. I feel like the big like crack vortex would work so much better if it was just the end. Not the whole thing, just the end. I think that would work so much better. So yeah, I think this sequence as a whole is flawed, but it could be better if you just toned it down a bit.
Yeah.
Because like this logo on a backdrop that's not as busy would probably be spectacular.
Because I think what I like about the classic Who sequences is that how like simple most of them are, and the creative aspects are like they have a lot of really good transitions in a way that they transition from one part to the next. With this one, it's trying to throw so much sort of like alienness in it that it's just becoming so overbearing.
It doesn't even feel alien. It's too much.
It's way too much.
Yeah. Like you get more alien out of like the subtlety of the Tom Baker one, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Again, like I do have a soft spot for the Colin sequence, but it is a mess in a way. It could be so much better. I think.
Yeah, it's on par for me with the second Pertwee one.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. I think I'd say the season 21 and 22 one, yes. I think this version is better just because I think the theme fits this. It does push it up a little bit. But yeah, it's... I'm not... Actually, what would you say was... If you were to compare this and the Tom Baker season 18 one, what would come up on top?
I'd probably say the Tom Baker one because it's not as in your face.
I'm not sure.
It's still like quite.
I think the Tom Baker one and the Colin Baker one almost have the opposite problem, and then the Davison one has like the balance right. Because like the Tom Baker one's too bland and this one's too non-bland. It's too in your face. And if you just took the Peter Davison one and added this logo to it, and then had the crack vortex at the very end, I think that would work so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that means we get to move on to your favorite title sequence. I think this will be a very interesting one to talk about. The Seventh Doctors.
I have a feeling this might be the most controversial one.
So I'll let you go first.
It's just so ugly. Like the three little asteroid things are so
They
ugly.
look like
Holy shit.
They look like crunched up balls of paper.
They do, and it looks so bad. I think the purpleness like makes it just like so blurry to look at. And I think like it has that sort of like weird vortex thing, which I don't think it looks like it looks way blurry. It's like I can't.
This is the
It makes it look the res look really.
This
off.
is the first CGI title sequence.
Yeah, and you can tell.
CGI in
You can tell.
1987.
The weird like TARDIS surrounded by a force field thing is like really weird. I don't get what that's meant to like mean. If they just had the TARDIS, I think it'd way better. So I don't know. And the logo looks terrible.
It's like two separate, completely different logos in one, isn't it?
It's so I hate how the logo looks. They look so cheap. Like the fat of the Who. It's like, and the Doctor part, and how it makes it feel like it's a parody.
I mean, this.
That's what it
I'm pretty
looks
sure
like.
this sequence was used for Curse of Fatal Death, and it probably fits that pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. If it was, I'm fine with that, but even then they could have. I think. If
But
they used
having
the
this,
thing, they could have made
having this like, because this is obviously originated season 24, which admittedly, even though season 24 is season 24, the vibe of this sequence very much fits that season. Weird.
it does.
However, having this in front of something like Ghostlight or The Curse of Fenric or Survival is very strange.
Yeah, this is the worst one. This is the worst one that we've seen.
Okay, so I'm going to disagree with you on that. There's one that I think is worse than this, but it's not. I'm not saying that it's a great sequence. It's just that.
Which one is better than this one?
You mean worse than this one?
Well, I mean, yeah. Sorry, which one is worse?
I'm not going to tell you yet.
So we haven't seen.
No,
it
we haven't
yet.
seen it yet.
Well, yeah, I said like this is the first one we've seen so far.
Yeah. So oh right, the worst one you've seen so far. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay, I get what you're saying.
This is absolutely the worst one of Classic Who, without a shadow.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that at the very least. Even though I don't hate it as much as you do, I do think that is fair because
the CGI is like
it's just because of
terrible,
it's just because mainly because of how its overambitious CGI doesn't pay off as well. And then also a few of the creative choices. Like I think for me the part that's really strange is the wink.
and why is McCoy covered in like silver paint?
I don't know.
That's so weird. Just have it be his regular face.
Yeah. Like the
there's so much wrong with
like the Colin cheesy smile was out of character. This wasn't necessarily out of character. It was just so weird. It was almost creepy.
Yeah, it's
but
that with like the silver paint over him. That's what does it for me.
But, however, having said that, there is one thing about this sequence that I think you probably might disagree with me on that I actually really like, and that's the theme. Because I actually really like Kev McCulloch's theme.
I think the theme is fine.
Yeah.
I think it's fine, but
the structure of it's a bit strange for us.
it's probably one of the better parts about the sequence.
The structure of the theme is a bit weird, considering it's like it has the middle eight in it. But I still think the theme works really well. But in terms of visually, it is very strange.
Visually, it's garbage.
It is very weird. I think the closing version works a lot better. Because they have like this howl around of the purple sort of Milky Way looking thing, and it's way more subtle and it just works so much better for the closing. But the opening is, it just feels like with the 80s, it's like every time John Nathan Turner just wanted to top himself, like with how just overblown the theme and the sequence was. Yeah, so I do agree this one. It's a mess. The CGI doesn't work, and some of the creative choices are very questionable. But there are elements of this sequence that get reused for, like, there's one specific one. If you recall the bit where I don't know, I can't exactly remember what happens. McCoy's face like explodes or something like that. We'll have to look. yeah, so this bit here, this gets reused for the next one, but it's done in such a much better way than this one. I think this logo works better written on a novel than it does for the title sequence. Like in a still on a novel, it doesn't look as bad because it's slightly different colored on novels as well. But
I feel like if you had the Who part be the same sort of font, color, and style of the Doctor, it'd look way better.
Yeah, if you just pick one or the other, but don't have both.
Yeah, it's such a clash.
Yeah. This, yeah, oh god, it's a weird one. I did show you a few months ago. There was a guy who made a modern version of this one, and the CGI on it's rendered a lot better. But there's still some weird stuff, like the paint on the face is even more silver in that one.
Oh god.
Yeah, this one's weird. It's a really weird one. In a strange way, it kind of fits Sylvester McCoy, especially in season 24. But it's still, like, just as a sequence, it just doesn't quite get what it wants out of it, and it's aged really weird and really poorly. Yeah, it's a bizarre one, but it's not my least favorite one. There's still another one that I act like, because I even with all its problems, I still don't quite dislike this one, mainly because I really like the theme, and there are parts of it that I think could have worked if they were done better. But there is another sequence that I can't say as kind words about it, but we'll get to that eventually. So that ends the classic era. Shall we move on to the TV movie?
Yes.
This is the part where Adam wishes he was on it. Oh, that logo's back.
Yeah. Hey, look! Actual asteroids.
And it's so clean.
Like, this is like a way better version of, like, the Pertwee Vortex.
Yeah. It's like a combination of Pertwee and Sylvester's ones, but done so much better. And I know you won't see it, but the way the vortex disappears and the TARDIS is going towards Earth in this is so good. Oh, I really like that one.
I like that one. Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Like considering it's 1996, it's aged pretty well. It still looks pretty good for now. Just all the transitions, the way they did the same thing with the Doctor Who logo in the 7th Doctor one, but they did it so much cleaner with a better logo, the best logo. And then you got all the, like, the vortex looks modern, and it's like got the great colors, and the asteroids actually look like asteroids. And obviously because it's a movie title sequence, you have like a lot more names in it. Actually, no, it's the first time you even get names in it, to be honest. But my favorite thing about it is the theme. That theme is so epic. You know, when you think about Doctor Who the movie, this is exactly what it is, and especially considering it's made. It's really it's made in North America. It has that, like, cinematic feel to it. You know. I just love the loud drums and, like, how bombastic the theme is. It's almost in a way, it's almost a precursor to Murray Gold, except it's a lot more like. This is a lot more like this is a film rather than this is a TV show.
Yes.
So I think.
That's definitely why
I think this is the one thing I will say about the sequence, though, is it wouldn't work nearly as well if it was every week. It only works as a one-off.
Yeah, I think if you make it a bit more like smaller and just pump up, I guess, the pace of the theme, then it would be more suited for a TV.
There's a reason why the 8th Doctor Big Finish range gave him a new theme, not just because the tone of the character and the series changed a lot, but the TV movie theme wouldn't work as a sort of Big Finish opening theme. They gave him the David Arnold version, which, again, I love that one as well. That one's brilliant. But, yeah, so I do think this one works brilliantly for the TV movie. I think it's a solid thumbs up from me.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Also, they don't show it in this video, but I really like the pre-title sequence as well, with like Paul McGann narrating over it, and like with although to be fair, narrative-wise, it's like, why the hell is Skaro there when it was blown up in Remembrance of the Daleks? It was really weird. But I do really like the transition out of when the vortex disappears and it's going towards Earth and it goes into the TARDIS, and it's just. I think one of my favorite things about the TV movie is the fact that you have Paul McGann narrating over the Seventh Doctor's last day. I think that's a really unique way of telling a story. But yeah, that whole the TV movie in a way is almost worth watching just the first 20 minutes of it, because it's just such an interesting way to start it, you know?
Yeah, but then the plot happens.
Yeah. Once because the whole sequence where the Seventh Doctor dies, goes to hospital, and regenerates is awesome. And then you get the bit where he's like, "Who am I?" But then as soon as you get to the bit where it's like, "Oh, it's New Year's," and the Master wants gold dust, and it's like, "Oh." And it's Eric Roberts as a snake.
Yeah, so
and then it's like, "I'm half human."
Yeah, the half human stuff is just so weird.
Yeah. Yeah, because after a certain point, it stops being Doctor Who and turns into any 90s American film, you know? Feels like a Joel Schumacher Batman film. But yeah, anyway, Paul McGann's great in Big Finish. He's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, anything else you want to say about the TV movie title sequence?
I just think, in terms of CGI, it's such an improvement on the Seventh Doctor.
Absolutely, yeah.
It looks so much better.
Absolutely, yeah. And that logo, they were smart to bring that logo back.
Yes.
All right, so that means we move into New Who, where this is where bias and nostalgia are going to play a heavy part.
This is where the big boys play.
Oh, yeah. This is where, yeah. So just be prepared for that, because...
Here we go.
All right, so we'll go with Christopher Eccleston. That is spectacular.
I absolutely love this title sequence.
Oh yeah, it's considering some of the dodgy CGI that they had in series 1. This sequence is so well composed and composited and rendered. It's the design of it, everything. It's
the vortex. I'm going to be honest. This is my favorite vortex.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think this perfectly represents what a time vortex would look like. You have the blue, which I think is either going back in time or forward in time, and you've got the red that is the opposite.
It's blue's past and red's future.
That is, I love how there's a difference.
Yes, and
it's just it's so distinct.
And the whole design of it, the simplistic design of it, it's just so streamlined. It gets rid of all the issues that the 80s had with all the baggage and all the overplayed elements, whereas here it's all simplistic. Yeah. Just the TARDIS going through the vortex, and oh my god, Murray Gold's theme is beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. This is the one TARDIS sequence that I actually believe is the time vortex. Especially in New Who. This is the only one that...
My favourite thing about it is this. When the TARDIS, jumps between them, and then you get the iconic chorus. And then Christopher Eccleston's big name just stacking and, turning. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's just so simple. Yeah. It has such a simple vibe to it, but it just works.
Yeah, it's so great. And then we get the surfboard.
Yeah, the surfboard.
I'm going to be honest. I actually like the way this logo looks.
Yeah.
And I think the new one is definitely better, but I actually do really like this logo because I think it really fits in with what the era is going for.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's like Series 1 and 2 have this logo because Series 1 and 2 share a very similar vibe in terms of like the music's very studio bound. There's a lot of like the way the CGI looks and everything, and just the overall pacing of the show is very similar. And then when you get to Series 3 and 4, a lot of things change. Like, it's a lot more bombastic, a lot more orchestra, a lot more, like, cinematic. You've got, like, the fire logo, and the pacing's a lot faster. So I think it's actually, it's fitting that the logo changed at around the time the show started to change a bit. But like you said, yeah, the surfboard logo is really cool. I think my favorite thing about this version of the surfboard compared to the later one is how the bright lights look on it. It's the contrast of it looks really cool.
Oh, yeah. And you can, with this one, the only problem with it is that you can like see like the sharpness of it, of the like, rings, and it doesn't look as crisp. It looks very rough, but I still like the logo a lot.
Yeah, but this entire theme was all sampled and all done in the studio. Like, it's the Series 2 onwards one is different. It's a redone one in the orchestra, which we'll get to later. But yeah, considering this is the first one of new, I think is really cool. Yeah, it's just it's so simple but so brilliant, and I think they absolutely nailed it. And
I think the TARDIS in it as well is great. I love the way the TARDIS.
The only issue with it is that in constructing this, the syncing of the song and the sequence is either way you do it, it doesn't work, because in this version they have the TARDIS come at you when the sound plays, but then the rest of the sequence is out of sync with the song, whereas from End of the World onwards, they changed it so that the rest of the sequence was in sync, but then the TARDIS sound isn't in sync. So it's not until you get to Series 4 that both are actually, like there's no syncing issues. Although, to be fair, they did have syncing issues eventually when they got to the end of Series 4 with all the names. Yeah. But that's the only real nitpick I have, is it's really annoying that the TARDIS sound and the rest of the sequence can't exist at the same time. I think I prefer the version they use from End of the World onwards, because it means that most of the sequence is in sync, and the TARDIS sound, even though it's far away, it still like kind of works. But just for Rose, you do get the bit where you'll see what I mean. You know what I mean? Like, you get the TARDIS sound as it comes across, but then in every other episode it does it later, and then you get the rest of the sequence in sync. But then with this version, the theme and the sequence aren't in sync from here on. You know what I mean? So
yeah, by the time you get to that little bit, it's already, the logo should already be like.
So then in the very next sequence we watch, you'll get the opposite, where the rest of it is in sync, but the TARDIS isn't. So yeah, it's that. Unfortunately, that is a nitpick. But apart from that, a brilliant sequence, definitely one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I do think that it gets slightly better with the next one. With the one from Christmas Invasion, where they redid the theme and they changed the syncing. So are we ready to move on to that one? It's so much louder, like the theme.
Oh yeah, it's way more bombastic.
See, it's all in sync as well. You notice how the TARDIS moves with the theme? I love that. So yeah, this is... I think my favourite version of the Doctor Who sequence is the Series 3 version, because it's this sequence but with the fire logo, and it has this theme.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's probably my favorite. Because it's basically just what this one is, but with the fire logo. So yeah, they updated the theme. They re-recorded it with an orchestra. It's so much louder, so much more bombastic. Again, that fits ironically how it fits the fact that they've changed Doctor with Eccleston to Tennant.
Oh yeah.
And
Because with the Tenant Doctor, he's more open and he's more bombastic.
Absolutely. And this version has the syncing right. Obviously, we did get the rest of series 1 was synced as well after Rose. But yeah, this one's synced. The only nitpick with this one is the fact that the TARDIS sound doesn't happen at the right time. But that's it. That's the only negative I have. The rest of it is perfect. Actually, to be fair, the fire logo in Series 3 does improve it. The other detail is that the blue vortex is a different hue of blue. It's a much lighter hue. I'm pretty sure in Series 3 they change it back to what it was in Series 1, to the sort of darker blue.
Yeah, I think I prefer the darker blue because it's more
again, like I said, the Series 3 version is the best version of the first three, because it's you get the darker blue and you get the fire logo and you get this theme. The only thing with the Series 3 version is that the ever so slight nitpick I have is that Freema Agyeman's name doesn't quite work in the transitioning of like the titles. Like I really like the Billie Piper one where it's like a stack of her name coming in from the right side, whereas from then onwards they just had all of them come from the same side. And I preferred it when there was like the Doctor came from the left and the companion came from the right. I did prefer that. But yeah, it's very much just semantics, really. It's just small details, but overall the Series 2 and 3 one is probably my favorite. I love it. It's so simplistic, so well done, and this version of the theme is just, God, it's brilliant. In fact, as much as I love this, I think my favorite version of the Doctor Who theme ever is the closing theme from Series 2 and 3.
That's great.
It's so good.
It goes more orchestra in like a section, which I think is great.
Well, the part that plays over the To Be Continued or the Next Home trailer has a completely different sound to it, and then after that it cuts into the classic version, and then it plays the middle eight, the big bombastic middle eight. It's just it's brilliant. Murray Gold, man, love him, love Murray Gold. But yeah, this is great. Probably need to skip forward a little bit. So that means that after this point, we come on to the Series 4 sequence, which was remastered in HD in the specials.
Yes.
So I know you're looking forward to this one.
Oh, look how good that TARDIS looks. Oh, and the names look so clean as well.
And then you get the fire logo, and it's like 3-dimensional.
Yeah, no. Oh, this is so fucking good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is the best one.
This is the HD remaster of it, so it's so much cleaner.
I know. I just wish all of the RTD era had the HD one.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
The TARDIS is just like, it looks incredible.
Yeah, so this is, visually speaking, this is my favourite sequence.
This is the best one. For me, it's the best one because not only is the sequence like rendered in animation wise, it is incredible to look at. Even in the Series 4 one, it looks incredible. The music, however,
oh yeah,
fuck me, it's so incredible because it's the theme that completely gets you hooked into whatever episode.
Well, what's
no matter
what's great about this version of the theme is it fits Series 4 to a T. Like
it does.
The change of like, this is like, it goes from, because obviously the first Series 1, 2, 3, you obviously get the Eccleston version, which is all like the it's the studio version. Then Series 2 and 3 is the more bombastic version of that theme. But then with Series 4, it's like, this is the big time, you know? This is like this is the biggest, loudest theme there's ever been. But it's not garish like the Colin one. It's not messy like the McCoy one. Like it's this just gigantic orchestra, and that perfectly fits the scale of Series 4, if you know what I'm saying.
And where it really hits you is that the end of the cold open of Stolen Earth, and no one in history, I am telling you, was not hyped for that after and going into the sequence.
I honestly feel like this version of the theme was made specifically for the Series 4 finale.
Oh, absolutely was. Like, Jesus Christ, it's so.
But I just
it
love.
It fits the season, but that story, it's perfect for it.
But again, I love it how like a bit kind of similar to the 80s theme. It adds this sort of rock sound to it, and it just pumps your blood. It's brilliant. I just want to.
Oh, it's so great to listen to.
I want to listen to it again.
Look how great that TARDIS looks.
It's got such a loud drum as well.
Yeah, with this version with the specials, the names are like slower because it was near the end of Tennant's run. With like, the regular ones, it's so much faster.
It's just epic. There's nothing more epic in the show than that sequence.
It's pretty much like orchestra porn.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's just like you can just listen to it and it just takes you away.
And there's a reason why there's that video of John Barrowman when he rewatched The Stolen Earth and Journeys. He's like dancing along to it.
Oh yeah, it's because it's great. It's such hype. It completely perfectly represents the RTD era and Series 4. But on its own, it's also just incredible.
Like, it's interesting how the themes of the RTD era tell the story of the show's popularity increasing. Like, it's like the Series 1 one is quite humble. It's all done in a studio, and it's really interesting how Murray Gill managed to pull off how brilliant that theme sounds without any orchestra. Then you get the actual orchestra version, and then when you get to Series 4, it's like this is the show at its height of its confidence, height of its popularity, at its most epic, with the largest scale, with the biggest budget,
with
and
some
it's
of
just
the best stories the show's ever seen.
It's just so epic. Like, it's bombastic with a purpose.
When you go back to watching the episodes after seeing them, when you watch Midnight, when you watch Forest of the Dead, when you watch Fires of Pompeii, and when you watch Stolen Earth and Waters of Mars, and even End of Time, you are just hooked into it the second this sequence plays.
Like, this is because we're talking about like how the Colin sequence feels like a brick to the face, like in a bad way, whereas this is a brick to the face, like in the best way. It's like, wake up, Doctor Who's on, you know?
Yeah, it pretty much is. It's incredible. It's fantastic. Everything about with this version, I have no problems with it. I can't even think of a single one.
Yeah.
The only thing I could probably say with the specials version, with the HD ones, they have like when you have the name of the episode and who it was written by. With the specials, it's like it zooms in just slightly and it's just slightly off-centered.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
That's the only problem I have with it.
Yeah, I think I slightly prefer the Series 3 one just because I'm a little bit more fond of the original arrangement, but that doesn't mean that I dislike this one at all, because I think this one fits Series 4. Like, it just suits this series to a T. Yeah. But the RTD era sequences are just so spot on.
They're the best. They are the best.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're saying that as RTD fans, and there's a lot of nostalgia tied to it, but like, I can't think of anything bad to say about them. They're just so well done.
Yeah, because like I said before, the vortexes look exactly what you'd think a vortex would look like, and they actually use it in the show. It's brilliant.
Yeah. All right.
It's such great care and detail.
Yes. So I'm scared to move on because I like talking about this era so much. But I think I've exhausted everything I can about the RTD era sequences. They're so good. I think also special mention to the Stolen Earth and Journey's End, like the fact that it had 6 names in it was pretty.
Oh yeah.
It was just.
I think, and it suits, and how fast those go.
Yeah.
They fit the theme as well.
Yeah.
It is because if it was with the other one, I don't think it would fit as well. But with this one, with this theme, it matches it.
It's
perfectly.
it's honestly one of the, as a kid, it was one of the most blow away moments I ever had watching the show, seeing all those names in the sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's never been done again. We have never had anything like this before, and we haven't had anything like it since.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it will ever be topped.
Yeah. All right. Now we move on to the Moffat era. Okay. Matt Smith's first sequence. Let's go.
What I like about this specific one with the 11th hour, like the TARDIS is on fire.
Yeah, it is, eh?
It
Okay.
is.
Oh, Out of all the sequences, this is the one that I go back and forth the most on, because it's tough. This one's tough to talk about.
From a CGI, just pure objective CGI perspective, it's fantastic because of how it looks. In terms of like the TARDIS, the like graphics of it all, and the way it transitions, it is like beautiful to look
Absolutely.
at. But as a title sequence for Doctor Who, it just doesn't really fit with what the show is.
See, you say that, and I do agree, but at the same time, if you just put it in the Smith era, it kind of fits that. If you,
it does,
Yeah.
but in the way of how Moffat writes the stories. I think.
like it's very whimsical, it's got a very different sound to it to the previous, which is what you want. You want it to sound different, which is good. But
it's just, but like when I'm thinking about it, like logistically, like as like in universe, the TARDIS in like a lightning storm / fire vortex thing, it makes no sense.
yeah.
It's really.
I think
weird.
I tend to like this one more when the episode is happening rather than just watching it by itself, because usually like the sting into it works better. And I also think the
very opening I think is great.
this one's good to watch if you're in a room with the lights off. I find me and my dad. It's a funny story. Me and my dad would always watch Smith episodes with the lights off because it just worked. And yeah, it has. There's something about it that I do like, but there's things about it I don't. One thing about it that I've never been too sure on is the fact that Murray-Gold kind of altered the theme a bit. Like rather than being like ding ding like it usually is, it was like dun 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 dun, and it just sounds a bit weird.
Yeah,
But
and I think my problem with this sequence overall within its whole run. There are times where you hear it with the lightning and like sort of the sound effects of the sequence, and there are other times where it's so empty of noise.
the 11th hour one's completely
It's
empty
really
because I think
inconsistent.
the reason why is they wanted you to hear the theme in the first one, and then also in A Good Man Goes to War you can hear the TARDIS in it as well, like you can hear the TARDIS materializing. Also, I think the one thing that I think most people tend to agree on is when this sequence gets ridiculous is when you get to series 7 and they start adding like personalized like colors and logos on it, and it's like you get like for the Power of 3 it's like the cubes, and then like Dinosaurs and Spaceship it's got scales, and then Town Called Mercy it's wood.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
weird.
it's really weird. And then like for the Christmas specials they added snow on it. I think the way I describe the Moffat title sequences is they're almost like the equivalent to like personalized plates, on cars, like personalized driver's license plates. They're so like specific. I don't know how to feel about this one. I don't think it's the worst one.
Oh no, I don't.
I think
it is either. I don't think it's close to being worse. I just don't think it really fits with what the show.
It doesn't feel like Doctor Who to me. It feels like this would fit a different TV show really well, but just not what
But I will say the logo.
Oh, yeah.
And how the DW transitions into the TARDIS is actually really smooth.
That is
I
good,
like
and that's actually something that I do like that part of it. That's pretty cool. But it's I don't know. It's a very mixed bag. Never get 100% into this one. I think
the only episode where I'm like really invested in it is when I watch Amy's Choice.
Right.
I think that's the one when I'm like,
you know what's really
into it.
weird? This one works really well in Victory of the Daleks. I don't know why.
It kind of it's kind of weird. It's weird. How it
one
does.
thing I actually do really like though is how even though I'm not personally not a fan of the episode, I do love how at the end of the Big Bang when they materialize, they go into the vortex and then it plays the closing credits. That is awesome. That is a great way to end the series. I don't know. The theme song as well I'm quite conflicted on. Again, like I don't like how the verse slightly changes, and then like the chorus at the end is bit off. But then I also really like the Sting, how it's more scattery. It's like definitely Murray Gold got like a spreadsheet from Moffat, like, this is the 11th Doctor's character, and I want you to put his character in the theme. You know, it's a fairy tale old wizard, and he's a bit scatty, and it's like, that's exactly what happened, you know, when you listen to this theme.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, though, the full version that you sometimes get with, like, the closing theme, I don't know if you always get it, I don't like this theme's version of the middle 8. It sounds very strange.
Yeah.
It sounds too, like, I don't like the boop, 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 you know, those sounds, the popping sounds.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes it's hard to see the names because they're like the same color as the clouds.
Yeah.
In Series 7 they did fix that, but then again they also broke it with all the colors.
Oh
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this one's definitely like, I want to say it kind of has like a cheese to it. It's quite a cheesy title sequence.
It's for me, it's quite a mixed bag. I think I'm more on the side of, like, I do like it, but it definitely has stuff that it just doesn't really fit.
Yeah, because it kind of, in terms, like we said, like with the tone, it kind of gets the tone right, but it's still,
but it doesn't get the Doctor Who tone right.
It's a bit too far removed, I think. Interesting one. I think this is the one that I'm the least. I can't really decide where I stand on it. I know Adam absolutely hates this one.
I imagine his reasoning why is because, like, because is this meant to be a vortex? Because it looks nothing like what.
No, I think it's more to do with the theme for him. He doesn't find the theme like exciting at all. He finds it.
It's more mysterious and weird, but it's not in the same way of like the
Hartnell theme, you know.
Some of the ones before. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more modern, but it's like modern removing some of the elements of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Is what it like feels like.
But there is one thing I will say. It's not the worst sequence. Because
No.
my least favorite sequence is the next one. Shall we watch it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh god, that vortex is awful.
And then you get the really cheesy going into the TARDIS doors.
Okay.
Oh,
I want to start because you started on the 7th Doctor one, right? So this is obviously Series 7B. Thankfully, only lasted a little bit, and thank fuck they didn't make this the Day of the Doctor one. Oh my god. Okay. God, where do I start? All right. There's only one thing I like about this one, and that's that they brought back the face. Like Matt's face.
The face looks.
That's great. That's great. Brilliant. I love the Matt's face. It's excellent. Everything else, absolute dog shit. It is just, it's a random compilation of like Google images stuck together of like space. And there's like...
Don't you like the image of the wolf having a cup of tea?
Yeah, there's a wolf having a cup of tea. There's like, they're going through like blood cells. They've got like exploding planets, and then like the names explode into like
the
particles.
When the logo
and then like
comes in?
the logo, they've fucked up the logo as well. It's all like crystallized and then explodes into particles, and then you get the fucking awful red vortex that I can't believe fucking Clever Dick Productions uses that vortex as a transition for his videos, because it's so awful. The fucking resolution on it is garbage, and oh man, and oh my god, the theme.
The TARDIS does not. Look good
The
at all.
theme is a mess. Like it's like it's trying to be like a dubstep version of the previous one in a way, because it's like
it's like a more like it's even more far removed.
And it's fucking awful. This is the only one that I actually dislike. Like, I really don't like looking at, because the McCoy one's ugly, but it's ugly in a sort of like, oh, it's the 80s. I'll let them off for being garish. But this for 2013 looked shit. Like the standard of like the quality of it and just the composition and the way it's made is just ugh. And
the worst part about it for me is the goddamn going through the doors.
it's just so cheesy.
Because it is literally like when I always talk about Series 6 and 7, it is just the tip of the iceberg of Americanization.
Absolutely.
Of the show.
And like
that is something you would find in a sci-fi American show.
And that's the thing is like there is not a single episode that uses this sequence that I would call great. Because like none of them. Like I mean,
I'd say all of them are bad.
Yeah, I mean I do enjoy the Crimson Horror, but it's still not a great episode. It's still like middle of the road. And then it's like most of them are just like you think about like, you know, Nightmare in Silver, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, fucking Time of the Doctor. It's just it's
everything about the season, everything is just like it just screams like I am terrible.
Like if you want to like fucking justification for Series 7 being the worst of New Who, Series 7A has the fucking colourful previous title sequence, right? And this one has this title sequence with Series 7B. It's fucking awful. And
it's just the antithesis of ugly.
yeah, and again, like I said, the only good thing about it is the face. That's it. Everything else is terrible.
Yeah. Bring back that is the shining light on a pile of shit.
Yeah. It's like, and you'd think that the messy parts would be my least favourite. Like, I don't like the messy parts, but the worst part is the vortex. The vortex is so ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Anyway. Thankfully, it gets better from here. It's all uphill from here.
Yeah, it's hard to not be better than this.
Yeah,
but yes,
we've hit the nadir. Before we move on though, which one do you prefer out of this and the McCoy one?
I slightly prefer this one just because in terms of when I'm looking at it just like as CGI, it is just better. But it's still not good. It's still terrible.
I mean, this one has a better face, I'll give you that.
Yeah, it does. Exactly. That also has... It's way better. The way it's sort of like faded within like the sort of like space, it's actually really good at going through the eye and stuff.
I have so much beef with like how they took that really nice looking logo and just fucked it up with all the crystal.
Oh yeah, they really did.
Oh. I mean, actually, no.
Like
it's kind of
this just.
It's kind of fitting that it's crystal though, because this title sequence is like fucking Doctor Who on meth.
It really is. It is.
Yeah. Oh god, just fucking.
So, yeah, this is just. It's very slightly better, just because it has one or two things that are like great.
And I'm so.
And in terms of just.
And I'm so happy that whoever that fan was that made the Capaldi one. Did that because I'm so glad that this wasn't the Capaldi sequence because that would have been
yeah, it'd be unbearable.
Ugh, imagine having this until series 10. Ugh. All right, let's.
Though I think having Capaldi's face where Matt's was.
Oh yeah. Again, like the face. Again, the one redeeming thing about it. If it didn't have the face in it, it would be completely irredeemable.
Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't mind if they went in, like, and redid all of Series 7. With Matt's first title sequence.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't mind that at all.
It wouldn't bother me. And yeah.
And I actually, also, I hate how they've changed how the font of the names look. Because in Series 5 and 6, it looks great with like the sort of like stony kind of names they have. But this is just really bland text.
They have the same text in the Series 7A one as well.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, but at the very least, in the Series 7A one, it would fade, like a sort of, it had a little fade to it, and the purpose of it being there was so that you could actually see the names, because the block one was quite dark. So at the very least, there was that, but with this one, it just explodes into particles, and it's disgusting. Yeah, fuck it. All right, let's move on to bigger and better things. It can only get better from here.
Yes.
All right,
surely.
Peter Capaldi's title sequence. That is so much better.
It's better for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the best thing about it is that the fact that this was made by a fan is great.
Yeah, there was a concept of it by a fan, and then they redid it with the idea with this. I think my problem with this version of it is, like, it feels quite, in a weird way, simple and kind of like plastic. If you get the TARDIS looks really weird.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like, it looks like a toy version of the TARDIS.
Yeah, this one, it's kind of, it's almost boring.
Yeah, that's what I get from it. There's a version of this one that's actually way better. I remember that I saw one on YouTube, and it's like, it's got more of like a gold kind of vibe to it in some areas, like the way Capaldi's face sort of like warps in and out is really, really cool.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the
original concept version that was made by the fan actually is, I like probably a bit more than this one.
Yeah, I think the BBC version of this sequence, it's good and it's very solid, but it feels quite
I like the concept behind it being like, because obviously the time vortex has been very like, space, lots of like, you know, abstract elements and like stars and whatnot. I like the fact that they've gone for a more time thing with all the like the clocks and all that. And I think my favorite thing about it is it kind of returns what you had in the RTD sequence with the TARDIS moving from one to another and how it goes through like these big grandfather clocks. And what I like about that is that really suits Capaldi, like the fact that he's older and he's kind of got like the grandfather clock thing going on. It is again, like with the Stephen Moffat era, it's very much a personalized plate title sequence for sure. Yes. I mean, the Moffat era in terms of title sequence is very similar to the 80s in a way. It's funny because you could say the RTD era is almost like the 70s, and then the Chibnall era is like the 60s in terms of the sequences. But yeah, I think my biggest problem with this one is that I think most of the theme sounds okay. It's just the screeching cat at the chorus I don't like. I don't like how it goes like, it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it's
yeah. But I don't really have a problem. I think I also one thing I do like is the Capaldi's eyebrows. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's quite funny. Like, but then they, in like fucking Death in Heaven, bloody made the version with Clara's face, and I'm like,
I changed my mind. That's the worst title sequence of all time. Worse than Series 7B. But although in Before the Flood they had like the electric guitar version.
That was okay.
I think one of the reasons why I like that one is because it tones down the screeching cat and it plays more of like the electric guitar.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like what if the Peter Capaldi title sequence was in Series 4?
Yeah. My only issue in like one of the alternate versions of it is in Heaven Sent. When they bring up Capaldi's name, it looks really weird in how they use it.
It like stops.
They should have made it more free flowing. It's really off-putting.
Also, another problem is that none of the sequences are in sync. None of them. Every single one of them is out of sync, and like they're slightly out of sync as well. And all of the titles of the episodes are like a different font size. It's really strange.
Oh yeah, it's really inconsistent each season.
Yeah, I mean, at least in Series 10 they made them bigger, so you could kind of see them more. And then they rearranged it slightly when they had Series 10, because obviously they had 3 people in it, so they had to have the logo come before the eyes in Series 10. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, so between Series 8 and 9 they changed they brought back the old 70s sting rather than the one that they had here. The one that almost sounds like a fucking graffiti can. And then they also changed the color of it as well. Like the Series 8 one is very brown and muddy, whereas the Series 9 and 10 one is more silver.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is bad. I think it works.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's just I don't think they could do
Yeah,
better on it.
I would say this one's like a notch below the Davison one, but above the others. Yeah, it's around there.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But yeah, it still works. I think it's probably. I don't know. In terms of my favorite of the Moffat era, it's either this or the Series 5 one. I'm not sure. I think this feels more like more like Doctor Who than the Series 5 one does.
It does, yeah. But I think I prefer the Series 5 one just because I think graphically it looks way better.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's very mixed bag, both of them.
It's hard to say. I mean,
I think overall, I think that
kind of sums up the Moffat era as a whole, though.
Yeah.
It's like it's all a mixed bag, and then Series 7 is just pure shit.
Yeah,
the title sequences exemplify that. All right, that means we have one left, and that is the Jodie Whittaker title sequence. That one is really good.
Yeah, it's in terms of graphically, it's the best one.
And we've also kind of come full circle because it's made in the same vein as like the 60s ones. In fact, it's almost in the shape of the first Pertwee one, actually.
Yeah, and what I like about this one is it makes the logo look good because on its own, when it was first revealed, it looked like crap. But using it as like a 3D, like physical object within this sequence,
and it looks way better as a purple logo rather than a gold one.
Yeah, it's got the mixture of like the purple.
Yeah, and Sega Nakanola's theme is awesome. It's the best.
Great.
This is the best one since the Davies era for me, by far.
Yes, it is 100%. The only problem with it is that it's a part of the Jodie era. And this sequence could have been used so much better.
Yeah, so the only issue with it is the fact that there is a part in it after the logo where it starts to become, it's like, oh, this is a professional TV show, it's not Doctor Who anymore, because like they show like executive producer or something.
It becomes really, I really don't like how they do that.
That's the only thing.
And it kind of looks a bit pixelated as well.
A little bit, yeah.
If you notice.
Yeah.
I think, and also, this sequence does not suit a cold open.
No, it doesn't.
Because in series
also
11,
they don't have the sting for the cold open either. That's really annoying.
Yeah, that when we got that in Spyfall, I was really hyped, but then I was like, well, there wasn't really a really good transition.
Yeah, and like Haunting of Billy Diodati when they scare them at the door, that should have had the sting on it, you know. But that's what I love about the closing like cliffhanger, is when you get the sting and the theme.
Yeah, if it was more like the Davies
like when you
because it has
when you get
stinger.
because in Woman Who Fell to Earth they didn't play this title sequence at all. They played it in the Ghost Monument, but the cliffhanger with the sting and you hear this theme, it was so good.
Yeah, that's probably like one of the highlights of the Jodie
era, it's one of the best cliffhangers in New Who. It's really good.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I watched that, I was like, that was fucking cool. And it was like, oh my god, they brought the actual sound back when they do the cliffhangers from the Davies.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they did in the Smith era, to be fair.
Well, I mean, it's the 70s sting is what it's called. It's a 70s sting.
Yeah, it's great. It's so good.
But I absolutely love Sega Nakanola's theme. Like, it's just so... It's really because obviously Murray Gold's very bombastic, and Sega Nakanola had to make his own mark on the show. And so
and this is quite bombastic.
But it removes a lot of the sort of cinematic sound, and it makes it a lot more alien again, like it was in the classic era. But I love the dark, like, gritty drums and the bass drop before the chorus. It's such a great blend of classic and new. But yeah, Seiki Nakanola's music has such a like character to it. It's so just there's so much bass in all of his music, and like it just and I love the way like because obviously the visuals are very like alien, and I love how the theme fits the visuals the way it's like ro-da-do, you know. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it's great.
And it works brilliantly as a closing theme as well.
It is.
I love the way, like, Seiki Nakanola, I know for a fact, he went in to some of the master tapes of the Delia Derbyshire version and used some of the unused stuff, so you can hear all these weird sounds in it. It's just, the layering of it is really interesting, especially in the closing version. I also know that between Series 11 and 12, they slightly changed the theme a bit. It sounds... The Series 11 version is... A lot of the sound is quite distinct. The Series 12 version is more... It's kind of like the difference between... A bit like the difference between the Series 1 and 2 versions, where the sound is a lot more unified in the Series 12 one. It kind of rolls off the tongue more rather than it feeling like a bunch of individual parts, if that makes sense. The difference is very minor, but when you listen to them back to back, like if you go on Spotify and you listen to the opening theme in the Series 11 one and then the Series 12 one back to back, you'll notice the difference. The Series 12 one works a lot better for like cold opens, I think, because it's a lot. It just feels like the energy's more there. But yeah, it's great. The Jodie sequence is great, and I wish the show reflected that in its quality.
Yeah, because this is like the best part of the Jodie era.
Honestly, the most excited I was when I watched the Saranga Conundrum was the title sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, my biggest problem with it is that you can't have a really good cold open with this. And I feel like that's massively missed. Because I think with New Who, the modern show, I think the cold opens are some of the best parts.
Oh yeah.
Amy's Choice, I think, is a great example of having a cold open and Stolen Enough being great cold opens that get you really hyped into the episode.
I think most of the Davies era has really strong cold opens. Like, I specifically
really do.
I love the one in the Shakespeare Code of the witches tearing apart that boy, and then one of them just looks at the camera and is like, "We are fire the night," and then it hits the sting.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, and I just love the way that Murray
Human
Gold,
Nature.
he would tune the score to build up to the sting as well. He'd be like, duh, 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 you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's like the music on its own is almost like its own story as well.
Oh yeah, and actually another one that just came to mind is the Heaven Sent cold open. You know, he's like, I am the Doctor. Beautiful. I'm coming to find you, and I will never, ever stop.
If they could actually make Series 13, give us cold opens, and it actually fits into the theme, I'd be like, okay, that's one thing you've massively improved, but I doubt they're actually
just
going to do that.
Well, then, for starters, they need to add the sting to the cold open.
Yeah, exactly. Add the stinger, and it would be way more. It would transition way better. But the only problem with it is that because you still have that build up of the theme, and it would kind of feel like a halt up until it gets released.
I think if you were to add the sting, you need to add like a kick to the first bit, because the first bit doesn't have any drums in it.
Yeah, that's as good as it looks. There is just stuff that it can do a lot better. And they also remove the goddamn producers for stuff. You don't need that.
It's trying too hard to be a TV show. I don't like the bit in like Spyfall Part 2 where it's like, previously on Doctor Who.
Oh, I hate that. That makes it so like it's not Doctor Who. It's like previously on The Walking Dead. It's like that. I hate that. For that it works because it's an American TV show, but that's not what this is. It's so weird. I don't like it. Don't do that. Just have a cold open.
To sum that up, I think most of them are brilliant. But when there are a few that have issues, I think specifically the 80s and the Moffat era, for me, are where you can find the issues.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So for your worst one is the second Matt Smith
Series
one,
7B.
and my
Series
worst is the
Series
McCoy
7B
one.
is the worst. Then probably after that would be probably the McCoy one. I think the first Colin Baker one after that. Then it would be the second Pertwee one. Then the second Tom Baker one. And then I would probably have the second Colin Baker. Oh, it's either the first Smith or the Capaldi one after that. I can't decide between them. They're very different with their issues. I think I'm feeling kind today, so I'll say the Capaldi one, then the Smith one. Then after that would be the Davison one. I think the Davison one, then the Jodie one. I think after that would probably be the first Pertwee one. Yeah, I'll say the first Pertwee one, then the TV movie. Those two are like very close to me. Then after that, Tom Baker first one, maybe. Yeah, I'll probably say that, just slightly below. And then after that would probably be the Hartnell one. Yeah, I'm feeling nostalgic today. I'll say the Troughton one, Best of Classico. Then after that would be it's between the Eccleston one and the Series 4 one after that. I'll say the Eccleston one, then the Series 4 one, then Series 2 and 3 after that. That'd be mine. Fuck, that's hard. It's hard though. It's hard because like the top 10 are like really good.
Yeah. Just the worst ones for me are like the McCoy one. I think the second Pertwee one isn't that great, but I think it has a couple of good
it's better
merits.
than the Series 7B one.
Oh yeah, that one's terrible. That's like second to worst, like 100%. And then pretty much everything else is like Colin one is probably next because I think it's just way too much. It needs to be toned down a lot. But the music is pretty good. Then everything else is like.
Well, you got
great.
like. Well, I
And then
mean,
the
I
best
know
one for-
you had a few criticisms of the second Tom one and then the Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi one.
Yeah, those are ones like I'm very mixed on those. But I think I'm fallen on more the side of like I like them, but they're not great.
Yeah.
And then everything else is fantastic, and for me the best one is Series 4. Because it just is what everything that part of the show is. It just completely represents
Absolutely.
it in every department.
Okay, so this is the Delaware one that played for a couple of episodes in Australia in the Pertwee era, and it was going to replace it, but then they chose not to. I think it's it's good that they kept the Derbyshire one.
Yeah, that does not fit at all.
It's really weird, isn't it?
That feels like something a fan made.
It looks this theme works so much better in the what the hell's this guy's name? The alternate Pertwee one that the Summer guy made. He used a bit of the Delaware theme in it. It works so much better for that version. But for an actual episode, it's just so weird. Because the Delaware theme is used in this thing that I can't remember the guy's name. Dave Burgess. So Dave Burgess is a channel. He makes a whole bunch of like custom Doctor Who stuff. He made like he actually made a Jodie one of the 80s sequence that was pretty cool. But he used a bit of the Delaware theme in this, and I think it works so much better in this version that he made. Fuck, that's creepy. because you can hear he mixed it differently, and it sounds a lot better than the actual version.
Oh yeah, that's like way better than the
Yeah.
previous one.
But I really
There were some decent ideas in that one.
so that was basically he took some of the stuff that was in the Spearhead from Space Blu-ray, like the drafts of the Pertwee sequence, and he added the Delaware theme a little bit in there. I think it's a really cool fan-made sequence, actually. And the fact that he used the Pertwee standing with his arms up is so creepy. it's really weird. But yeah. So that's the one positive thing I can say about the Delaware theme, is that some fan made a sequence that it was used well in. But yeah, no, I'm glad they didn't. They actually played on TV in Australia. Think about that. How much do you know about dimensions and time?
Don't think it much.
Right, so 1993, it was the 30th anniversary, I believe. John Nathan Turner did a special that had like all the living doctors in it, and and it's a Doctor Who crossover with, I think it's EastEnders, and it's absolute garbage. And this is the theme. I think that's enough of that.
If they removed like the sort of like really high tempoed like beat to it, the actual sound of the theme isn't that bad.
It's so weird.
It's just that it's just a rave. That's the biggest problem.
You're right,
with
it's
it.
a fucking rave.
That's so. Literally, just remove that part of it and use that the actual theme that they're using. It wouldn't be that bad, but fuck me.
Oh dear.
That is the opening was also just so bad.
Yeah, it's so blatantly like 1993, isn't it?
Oh god, that's so that was bad. But literally, if you just used the part that was like the actual theme and put it somewhere else, it wouldn't actually be that bad.
Oh my god, that was so bad. Now we're about to experience a vast improvement. I mean, anything could be over that. Whatever the hell that was. All right, so this is the 8th Doctor Big Finish theme.
Okay.
So I
think I have heard that before.
I bloody love that one.
That's
it's
pretty good.
like we're talking before about themes that fit the tone of what the show is going for at that point. That theme is perfect for the early 8th Doctor adventures. It's so like it's so melancholic and alien, and it's just it has the darkness that you'd want, but it's not over the top. And it just perfectly fits the 8th Doctor. It's just so like I love how deep the sound is, and it's the bass is so powerful, like the yeah. Like because we talk about like say for example like the series 4 theme gets you amped up for the episode, whereas like this gets me immersed in the audio.
It sets
the tone. It gets me immersed. Like when I'm listening to something like Scherzo or the Chimes of Midnight, this theme comes perfectly before it. Yeah, it's excellent. Right, so there's a Big Finish audio story called The Rapture, and basically, it's like the whole thing is like the cover of the Big Finish audio is like an album cover, and basically the whole thing plays through like it's like a radio, and there's like a rave and a party and the whole thing. It's a really good story, but they made a radio version of the theme. So I'm interested to hear what you think of it. There you go.
I feel like that theme would be more suited for a Doctor Who behind-the-scenes show.
You actually got a point there.
Like that, if that wasn't it, like I'd say that if they redid Doctor Who Confidential, I feel like that would be the theme.
Yeah, you got a point actually. It does sound a bit like Doctor Who Confidential.
By the way, the actual theme of Confidential was great.
Oh, it is actually, yeah. Oh, hang on. Okay, so this one is from a story called Doctor Who and the Pirates, which is a musical episode. It's bloody brilliant. Colin Baker sings. It's awesome. And at the end of the story, it plays a pirate version of the Doctor Who theme.
Oh my god, okay.
Isn't that cute?
Huh. That was interesting, that's for certain.
Did you ever think you would hear that?
No, I did not.
Oh.
I found the Capaldi remake one I was actually talking about. So let me just put that on.
Yeah, that's a good one actually.
This one is, I think, after the clock version, or the beginning of where after the clocks. I think this is way better than the BBC one.
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah.
Ooh.
See, I think from this point on, it's actually really great.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that looks way better, and the logo looks great, and then the sort of like gold yellow vibe of it is great.
Not the episode though.
Yeah, but not the episode.
No, I agree.
After,
the face bit was brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's after. I think the clock part is just a bit too much.
Yeah.
But I think after that, when the TARDIS just it breaks the sound barrier kind of effect it has. From that point on, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. That actually reminded me that we should probably do the the original version of the 12th Doctor one that the fan made. Yeah, so this is the one that the BBC saw, and they're like, yeah, we need you to make this, please. And then it ended up getting turned into the actual one. Not bad for a fan.
Yeah, for a fan, it's pretty good.
Who came up with that, like, from scratch? You know?
Yeah. I do like the use of the clock. I like the watch.
Yeah, the pocket watch, actually, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't fit with, like, the era, but obviously at this point you don't know.
Yeah, this to me feels like if Peter Capaldi had been in the Davies era, almost.
Yeah, that's what I get from it.
Mm.
Especially an episode written by Mark Gatiss.
Yeah. That's true. The other thing I was going to mention about the 12th Doctor sequence is that in the Christmas specials they added like snow onto it and it looks really weird. See, because what I like about that is that because it has a guitar in it, they tone down the cat screech.
Yeah, it's still there, but it's very much turned down.
Mm.
Yeah, and then I've just found it. You get this version.
Oh no, I know exactly what this is. Simp title sequence.
It's so us.
Moffat is the biggest troll ever. Like he absolutely knew that would piss people off.
In a fucking finale.
This is his equivalent to the Journey's End one.
It's like if it was like during the season, I think that would be a fun joke. But it's a fucking finale.
Oh, Moffat. He's such a troll.
It's so weird. It's a complete tonal whiplash.
God. No one will ever replace that man.
No, certainly not.
He's just so weird sometimes.
There he is.
Of course. There we go. It's kind of exactly what you'd expect John Hurt to have.
Yeah.
It has that old Hollywood cinema, like it's almost like John Williams inspired, you know?
But yeah, I kind of get that from it, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really good for the War Doctor. It kind of fits his character in a way.
I agree.
Very bombastic, very Hollywood, but then it gets even better when you get the remix of that theme, which is this one.
I actually think on its own, it's a really good theme for the Master.
But it's just I love the way they took the War Doctor theme and remixed it for the War Master.
Yeah, if that was just in the show, I think that would be like a great theme for the Master,
especially for Derek Jacobi's Master as well. It has the drums in it, but it's also like has the old sound. But it's just I just love the way it sounds evil, doesn't it?
Yeah. I can imagine, like, if someone... I don't think it would really fit, but I can imagine someone replacing the music in Utopia and putting this theme in there as the Master is revealed.
I am the Master.
Yeah, and, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
I don't think it would work as well, but I think it'd be interesting to listen to.
But yeah, this is a great theme for the War Master.
Oh, yeah.
And also, oh my god, for cliffhangers, whenever you get a cliffhanger in the War Master set, which there are many great ones, and then like you just hear the cold, callous voice of Derek Jacobi, or you hear someone screaming, and then it just has it. You instead of the sting, it's the drums. It's like dun 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 dun. Oh, it's great. It's so good. I've only heard the first two War Master sets, but they are definitely, like, for me, some of my favorite Big Finish. Like, oh my god. The second set is especially the Master of Colors, because it's 4 episodes, but it's all one narrative. And Jesus, it's so good. Oh, man. Like, it was so good that Derek Jacobi has become my favorite Master. He is that good in it. Like, he was already great in his, like, 5 minutes in Utopia. But then in the War Master sets, you get a full character. And what I absolutely love about him is the fact that he plays a facade that is similar to Professor Yana, in the sense that he pretends to be nice to people in the same way that Yana is. Like, he's as funny as Professor Yana. He's as charming as Professor Yana. And he's got that same, like, affable, like, sciencey thing. And, like, there's many moments when you think you're actually starting to like him, because he's actually a really charming guy. He's really clever, really nice. And then you get the Master, and it's just, he just stabs you in the heart. Oh. Yeah, it's brilliant. I don't think there's any other themes that I want.
I think we've got a lot done in that.
I think I'm okay with ending on the War Master, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was good. We got this video done. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
That was good.
So,
good fun.
Do you want to say anything else before we end?
There's a lot of good title sequences and themes in this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there are quite bad ones.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot.
Yeah, but thanks to Delia Derbyshire's arrangement of Ron Grainer's theme, and also the tech they used for the first title sequence, we've been blessed to have the rest of it and all these great sequences. And I just love the way that you can arrange the theme in so many ways to fit the tone of what you're about to watch or listen to. And it just, I just love that. Like, I know that I said in the Moffat era, it does become a bit like personalized plates, but in a way, like, if you remove, like, the over-the-top nature of that, and you look at all the other ones that have a bit more, like, class to the way that they personalize the sequences for the Doctor and the era, I think that's something I really like about it, is that the mood that the sequence gives you helps set up the episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because, like, if you were to swap some of them around, that wouldn't quite work as well. Like, if you swapped the 8th Doctor Big Finish theme and the 10th Doctor Series 4 theme around, neither would work as well. You know? Like, the 10th Doctor Series 4 theme is way too bombastic for the 8th Doctor Big Finish range, and then the 8th Doctor Big Finish theme is too, like, reserved and dark for the Series 4 tone. But, so it just shows, like, they adjust the tone of the theme for what the show's going for, and I think when they get it right, they absolutely get it right.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, let us know in the comments what you think. I'm sure there'll be lots of disagreements because I know that these sorts of things are divisive. Like I know there's some people out there that have the Seventh Doctor one as their favorite.
Those people are weird.
I know Joey really likes that one.
It's graphically it's poorly made.
Although I don't think I've ever met anyone that said that the Series 7B one's their favorite.
No.
Yes. Because like I don't.
It's just all over the place.
Yeah. The only possible reason why I could see that is if like it was someone's first and they're like, oh, I have nostalgia for it. But even then, it wasn't around for that long, and you would have seen the Capaldi one later, which is fucking way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining for this video on the title sequences, and we will see you all tomorrow for day 18. Bye.
Bye.